In the late 15th century, the world stood on the precipice of a new era of exploration and trade. Portugal, a small nation with a vast coastline, was at the forefront of this maritime ambition. For decades, Portuguese explorers had been inching their way down the coast of Africa, seeking a sea route to the fabled spice lands of the east. The Ottoman Empire's control over traditional land routes had made spices like pepper, cloves, and cinnamon exorbitantly expensive for Europeans. A direct sea route would bypass these monopolies, promising immense wealth and power to the nation that could find it. King Manuel I, known as the Fortunate, ascended to the Portuguese throne in 1495, inheriting this grand national project. He was determined to see the dream of his predecessors realized during his reign. The task required a leader of exceptional skill, courage, and unwavering resolve. King Manuel, I chose Vasco da Gama, a nobleman from a minor provincial family, to lead this pivotal expedition. Da Gama was not primarily an explorer, but a tough, pragmatic, and sometimes ruthless fixer for the crown. Selection signaled that this was not just a mission of discovery, but one of asserting Portuguese presence. A small fleet of 4 vessels was specially constructed for the arduous journey. 2 were heavy carracks, the São Gabriel and the São Rafael, built to withstand the tempestuous southern oceans. A smaller, swifter caravel named the Berrio was included for its agility and scouting capabilities. A 4th vessel, a large storeship, carried the essential supplies for the long voyage. Vasco da Gama himself would command the flagship, the São Gabriel. His brother, Paulo da Gama, a more temperate and well-liked man, captained the São Rafael. Nicolau Coelho, another veteran mariner, was given command of the Berrio. The ships were equipped with the latest navigational tools, including astrolabes and quadrants. However, navigation in the southern hemisphere, with its unfamiliar stars, would be a major challenge. The crew of about 170 men was a mix of experienced sailors, soldiers, and a few priests. They were also carrying padronzes, large stone pillars, to mark Portuguese claims of discovery. On July 8, 1497, a solemn procession wound its way to the docks of Lisbon. Da Gama and his officers spent the night in prayer at a chapel on the riverbank. The next morning, with great fanfare and emotion, the small fleet set sail from the Tagus River. Their immediate destination was the Cape Verde Islands, a common Portuguese staging point. From there, Da Gama made a bold and unprecedented navigational decision. Instead of hugging the African coast, he swung his fleet far out into the open Atlantic in a wide arc to the southwest. This maneuver was designed to catch the prevailing southeasterly winds that would push them towards the southern tip of Africa. It was a huge gamble, taking them out of sight of land for over 3 months. The crew grew anxious, the vast, empty ocean testing their morale. Scurvy, the dreaded disease of long sea voyages, began to take its toll. Finally, in early November 1497, after 96 days on the open sea, they made landfall on the African coast. They anchored in a bay they named Saint Helena Bay, near the modern-day coast of South Africa. Their first encounter with the local Khoikhoi people was initially peaceful, but ended in a skirmish. Da Gama himself was wounded in the leg by a spear during the confrontation. Pressing on, the fleet faced the true test of their journey, rounding the Cape of Good Hope. The winds and currents were notoriously treacherous in this region. For weeks, they battled storms that threatened to tear their ships apart. The crew, exhausted and terrified, brigade on mutiny, demanding a return to Portugal. Da Gama, with his iron will, suppressed the dissent and forced his captains to swear an oath to continue. At last, on November 22nd, 1497, they successfully rounded the Cape. They had entered the Indian Ocean, a world unknown to European sailors. The store ship, having served its purpose and being badly damaged, was scuttled and burned. The remaining 3 ships sailed north along the eastern coast of Africa. By Christmas, they had reached a point further north than any previous European expedition. Da Gama named the region Natal. In honor of the birth of Christ, the crew was again suffering terribly from scurvy, with many dying. In January of 1498, they stopped for a month of repairs and recovery at the mouth of a river. The local Bantu people were friendly, and the Portuguese named it the River of Good Omens. Continuing north, they reached the sophisticated trading world of the Swahili coast. This was a network of Islamic city-states with established trade links across the Indian Ocean. Their first major stop was the island of Mozambique in early March 1498. The local sultan, mistaking the Portuguese for fellow Muslims, was initially welcoming. However, when the Portuguese offered cheap and unimpressive trade goods, the locals became suspicious. The sultan realized they were Christian rivals, and hostility grew. Da Gama, feeling threatened, fired his ship's cannons into the city before departing. This act of violence set a grim precedent for future encounters. The fleet then sailed to the larger and more powerful port of Mombasa. Here, the Arab traders, wary of new competition, engineered a trap. They feigned friendship, hoping to lure the Portuguese into the harbor and capture their ships. Da Gama, ever suspicious, tortured 2 of his pilots to uncover the plot. Horrified by the revelation, he avoided the trap and hastily fled Mombasa. The expedition's fortunes changed for the better at their next stop, the city of Malindi. The Sultan of Malindi was a rival of Mombasa and saw the Portuguese as potential allies. He provided the fleet with fresh water, fruits, and other much-needed provisions. Most importantly, the Sultan provided Da Gama with a legendary pilot to guide them across the Indian Ocean. This pilot, often identified as Ahmad ibn Majid, was a master of monsoon navigation. He understood the seasonal monsoon winds that were the key to crossing the vast ocean. With the expert pilot aboard, the Portuguese set sail from Malindi on April 24th, 1498. The journey across the Indian Ocean, powered by the favorable southwest monsoon winds, was remarkably swift. It took them only 23 days to cross the vast expanse of water. On May 20th, 1498, the lookout spotted the mountains of the Western Ghats. They had reached India, the goal of almost a century of Portuguese effort. The fleet anchored off the coast of Calicut, a major trading hub on the Malabar coast. Calicut was the domain of a powerful Hindu ruler known as the Zamorin. The city's wealth was built on the spice trade, particularly black pepper. The initial reception was a mix of curiosity and ceremony. Da Gama and his men were led through the city to the Zamorin's palace. The Portuguese, accustomed to the mud brick buildings of West Africa, were awed by the scale and sophistication of Calicut. The audience with the Zamorin, however, did not go as planned. The gifts Da Gama had brought, woolen cloth, wash basins, and strings of coral beads, were considered laughably inadequate. The Zamorin's treasurer mocked the offerings, fit for a minor merchant, not a king. Furthermore, the powerful community of Arab merchants in Calicut immediately recognized the threat the Portuguese posed. They worked to undermine the Da Gama's efforts, spreading rumors and and influencing the Zamorin's court. The Zamorin demanded that the Portuguese pay their customs duties in gold, just like any other trader. Da Gama, who had expected to be treated as a royal ambassador, was insulted. Negotiations dragged on for 3 tense months. Gama was briefly taken hostage to ensure the payment of duties for the goods he had landed. He eventually managed to secure a small cargo of spices, but it was far less than he had hoped for. Feeling betrayed and endangered, Da Gama decided to leave. As a final act of hostility, he captured several local fishermen and nobles to take back to Portugal as proof of his journey. The return journey, which began in August 1498, was far more harrowing than the outbound trip. They had to sail against the monsoon winds, a critical navigational error. The 23-day crossing from Malindi to India took an agonizing 132 days on the return. Scurvy returned with a vengeance, devastating the already weakened crew. At one point, only 7 or 8 men on each ship were fit enough to sail. Though many had died, Da Gama was forced to consolidate his remaining crew. The São Rafael, captained by his ailing brother Paulo, was abandoned and burned off the coast of Africa. The 2 remaining ships, the São Gabriel and the Berrio, became separated in a storm near the Cape Verde Islands. Nicolau Coelho, on the Berrio, sticking to his orders, sailed directly for Lisbon. He arrived on July 10, 1499, bringing the first news of the expedition's success. Vasco da Gama, however, had diverted to the Azores Islands. His beloved brother, Paulo, was gravely ill and died shortly after reaching the islands. After burying his brother, a mourning Vasco da Gama finally returned to Lisbon in September 1499. He had been away for more than 2 years. Of the 170 men who had set out, only 55 had returned. The human cost was immense, but the financial and political rewards were even greater. The small cargo of spices they brought back was sold for 60 times the cost of the entire expedition. Da Gama's voyage proved that a sea route to India was viable. It opened the door for direct European maritime trade with Asia, bypassing the old land routes. This fundamentally shifted the balance of global power. Venice and Genoa, which had grown rich on the spice trade through the Levant, began a slow decline. Lisbon quickly became the new epicenter of European commerce. Portugal moved swiftly to capitalize on its breakthrough. 6 months after Da Gama's return, a second, much larger fleet was dispatched under the command of Pedro Álvares Cabral. This expedition would establish the first Portuguese trading post in India. Vasco da Gama himself would return to India on a later, more militaristic voyage. His mission was no longer exploration, but the brutal enforcement of a Portuguese monopoly. The arrival of the Portuguese marked the beginning of European colonial influence in Asia. The Age of Discovery was also the dawn of an age of empire. The route da Gama opened transformed economies, cultures, and diets across the globe. Spices that were once worth more than gold became accessible to a wider population. It also led to the exchange of diseases, technologies, and ideas on an unprecedented scale. Vasco da Gama's first voyage was a masterpiece of navigation and endurance. It was also an enterprise marked by suspicion, violence, and immense human suffering. His journey did not so much discover a new route as it connected 2 old worlds. The Indian Ocean Trade Network had existed for centuries before his arrival. Da Gama's intrusion, backed by cannon, irrevocably changed its dynamics. He was celebrated as a hero in Portugal, showered with titles and riches. His name became legendary, a symbol of Portuguese courage and ambition. Yet, in the lands he visited, his legacy is often remembered with bitterness and resentment. The voyage of Vasco da Gama was a pivotal turning point in world history. It was the moment when the maritime power of Europe projected itself directly onto the global stage. The world would never be the same after his ships returned to Lisbon. The quest for spices had led to the foundation of an empire,